Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first American Rescue Plan public forum. My name is Dr. Janelle Morris, and I am the Deputy Superintendent of Teaching and Learning in the Rochester City School District. We appreciate your taking time tonight to come out and provide your input and your recommendations on the use of our American Rescue Plan funds. Tonight, we appreciate your time coming, and we are going to have the opportunity to provide you some information about the background on our coronavirus aid and also the various funding streams that are associated with that. And we're going to also explore a little bit further the funding that comes along with the American Rescue Plan, and then provide ample time for our speakers to provide input into our use of funds. As a result of the federal government providing emergency aid to various government agencies to respond to the coronavirus pandemic, the Rochester City School District will see an additional approximate $300 million over the next 3 years. This funding is earmarked to help our district and other districts across the nation address the academic, socio-emotional, and health needs of students that have arisen as a result of the pandemic. The funding will be issued to the district in the form of 3 different streams. These include the 3 that are displayed right now, which are CARES, CRESA, and ARPA. These CARE Act funds, which have already been received and included in the 21 and 22 budget, the Corona Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, which is going to be passed as of October 2020, and the American Rescue Plan Act, which passed in March 2021. The opportunities available with this funding have a powerful and lasting impact on the education of our children. Again, we appreciate your attending tonight to provide your recommendations to us. The American Rescue Plan, or ARP funding, is the largest stream of funding the district will receive, the total being approximately $197 million. As with all federal funds, in order to receive this funding, the district will need to adhere to some guidelines, including using the funds in certain ways. First and foremost, the district is being advised to prioritize spending on non-recurring expenses. The funding can be used to enact district response efforts to the coronavirus, as listed here on this slide. Allowable uses of the funds also includes provision of supplemental learning experiences to students focused on both academic and social-emotional learning, such as those identified on this slide. Additionally, 20% of the funds, or approximately $40 million, must be used to bolster students' academic programming in a way that will make up for instruction that may have been lost during the pandemic. Finally, funds can be used for any activity that would fall within some of the existing education laws, including those listed on the slide displayed. The district's ARP planning centers on students' academic and social-emotional needs in alignment with our strategic priorities and the recommendations put forth by our independent monitors' academic and financial plans. Academics will be centered within the ARP plan and will include the following core areas: a focus on culturally responsive and informed practices, which further defined is the Rochester City School District is an actively anti-racist organization focused on providing students with affirming learning experiences where diversity, equity, and inclusion are at the center of decision-making. Another core area includes provision of high quality learning experiences. Further, the district will ensure that every student has access to and engages with grade level content and high quality instructional materials daily. Another core area is the expansion of diverse programming, where the district will commit to having each school offer dynamic, innovative, and engaging programs and pathways where all students can find their voice and cultivate their respective passion. Another core area will be in the provision of expanded learning, where the Rochester City School District will provide robust, expanded learning opportunities for all students that challenge them to engage in real-world application of their learning. And another area that the district is prioritizing as a core area will be recruitment, development, and retention of high quality staff. The Rochester City School District ensures that the staff members that they will retain and develop and recruit will have the desire, belief, knowledge, and skills to provide high quality learning experiences to our students every day. So some guiding questions have grounded the Rochester City School District as it plans for the use of the ARP funds. These questions are built from guidance that was issued by the Council of Great City Schools. And in keeping these questions at the forefront of our planning, we are committing to effective and optimal use of these funds. We share these questions with you as you present input and ask that you keep these questions in mind when formulating ideas for the use of funds. The guiding questions are: how does this investment address student needs with regards to the strategic and independent monitors plans and the Rochester City School District's instructional priorities? What do we already know about the effectiveness of this investment, and how will this be measured in the Rochester City School District? And finally, what resources are necessary to sustain this investment? What is the plan for this investment after the funding period ends? We want to remind folks that there are multiple ways to provide input to us on the district's use of the ARP funds. Information about additional forums and the link to provide written feedback is included on this slide. You can learn more about the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, sign up for a forum, and also submit written feedback today at www.rcsdk12.org/ARP. And we have several upcoming forums that are designed to meet the needs and questions that would be targeted around parents and the community, students, and we also have employee forums and principal forums as well. So with that in mind, at this time, we will welcome participation from our community, and we will begin with our first speaker of the evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Pecor. I'm the Executive Director of Grants and Program Accountability, and I will be helping to facilitate the speakers list tonight. Our first speaker who's arrived in the waiting room is Mohammed Zaker. So, let's see here. Just checking the waiting room here.
Mr. Zaker is entering the room. I think he's having some technical difficulties.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Zaker. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. At this time, we look forward to receiving your feedback. You've got 3 minutes. Mr. Zaker, are you still there?
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. How are you?
Great, thank you very much. We look forward to receiving your feedback, Mr. Zaker. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Zaker. Thank you for attending tonight. Is there any ideas or thoughts you'd like to share with us tonight in regard to the district's use of its American Rescue Plan funds?
Yeah. I speak English a little. I speak English a little. I need translator.
Okay, you need a translator?
Ms. Pecor, we will take care of Mr. Zaker
Thank
and
you.
make sure that we get his feedback and have a translator provide that for us. Mr. Zaker, we're going to reach out to you and you can bring the next caller into the room. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker that we have that's arrived in the waiting room is Mary Callahan. Ms. Callahan, we welcome you tonight and we look forward to receiving your feedback.
Sorry, I didn't know I was not. Am I unmuted? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. All right. Okay. Hello, my name is Mary Callahan. I'm the parent of a third grader at 58, a teacher and equity coach in Greece, and a co-chair for the Citizen Action Education Committee. In consideration of both the one-time federal stimulus, but also the ongoing foundation aid in accordance with recommendations I have repeatedly heard from students and other advocates, as well as the NICED Culturally Responsive Sustaining Framework, I would like to request investment in the following: diverse perspectives and content in K-12 curriculum, purchase culturally responsive books and resources for all classrooms, and embed instruction in all levels and subjects and create focused electives at the secondary level. Implementation of CRSE programs to ensure that students and educators feel welcomed, supported, and represented. Invest in comprehensive CRSE training for all school staff. This includes, but is not limited to, ongoing anti-racism, implicit bias, and equity-centered SEL trainings for all teachers and school leaders, ongoing training in how to develop and implement culturally responsive curriculum, as well as CR practices like play, inquiry, project, problem, and phenomena-based learning, which centers student voice and choice, as well as 21st century skills and relevance. Focused training aligned with staff roles. Comprehensive district-wide implementation of restorative practices in all buildings, including ongoing training for all staff, the development of tiered restorative systems, coaching positions, and partnerships with organizations like Peary, Gandhi, Center for Youth, etc. Invest in staffing for de-escalation spaces in all buildings. A complete CRSE multi-level leadership infrastructure, including equity-focused staffing positions with designated release time at district level and in every building to support this paradigm shift. Partnerships with community organizations, educational equity scholars, and others with expertise to support as well. nutritious meals that are culturally relevant, and a menu that is planned with students and families. 4, more teachers and support staff with a specific focus on recruitment, hiring, retention of racially, ethnically, culturally, linguistically diverse, and LGBTQ+ staff and administrators. Mental health professionals to address student and faculty emotional health and trauma, especially those who are specifically trained in racially, ethnically, culturally, linguistically diverse, and LGBTQ+ care. More support for families through the community schools model. Lastly, I want to emphasize student and parent input at building and district levels in an ongoing loop of input, implementation, reflection, and follow-up. Two-way communication, transparency, and accountability in all endeavors. Continually assess and ensure concrete next step action planning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Callahan. We appreciate your time tonight. If you have further feedback, please feel free to visit our website and submit via the written feedback form.
Thank you.
The next speaker we have in the waiting room is Jaleel Mutakeen.
Good evening. I'm Jaleel Mutakeen. I'm co-chair of the Education Committee for Citizen Action. My comments today are based upon what we had known for the programming of students for RCSD, particularly in the issues of anti-racism and the question of teachers training in the issues of anti-racism. I heard mentioned that this is a part of the program for that you already can have this under consideration, but unfortunately there is no means for which the community at large can have transparency in understanding how this program will be developed. It is extremely important that our RCSD permits the community at large to review some of these programs that you allege are going to be implemented. One in particularly, for instance, the children's need for nutritional program, nutritional food. So we don't know what kind of vendor is going to be allowed to function at capacity. We would like to know the name of the vendor and also the history of the vendor in terms of their capacity to provide the nutritional meals for these students and what they are calling for. Also, in terms of diversity, diversity in the hiring, the practices. You made mention that this is going to be one of the priorities. However, there was no mention in regards to whether it would be people of color or people of other cultural significance, backgrounds. That was not even proposed or mentioned. And we need to know exactly, at least vetted, these individuals who are going to be considered being hired to teach our children. Also, in regards to the what New York State Department of Education had proposed several years ago, the framework, the culturally responsive, sustaining education framework. We'd like to know how that's going to be implemented, and in whole and in part, the development for this framework. I think there needs to be some transparency in regards to how that's going to be employed or how it's going to be implemented. You mentioned it, but unfortunately, the history of Rochester School District has been one of saying things and doing other. And so we are leery in regards to how this particular program will be implemented, especially with this infusion of funding that you have received from the federal government, also for money that you receive from the state government. One of the issues that we have raised in regards to the issue of money from the state government is $23 million that still has not been allocated or appropriately used. And there's no saying or information being provided as to what happened to this $23 million or how it's being applied or being used. And so there's some concurrence that we have in regards to transparency and the manner by which our RCSD is going to use the federal funding. Also, in regards to the issue of restorative justice, transformative restorative justice, we need to ensure that this is applied across the board, that the teachers, instructors are learned in the process of restorative justice and restorative practices and how that's going to be applied in Rochester School District. We understand that there are certain organizations that we know about that we'd like to see be one who would be training in that process, like Perry, as an example. They have the capacity to do the kind of training necessary that we feel is capable of ensuring that this process, this restorative practices is implemented to its fullest capacity.
Thank you.
Lastly, I would like to raise the question of Teachers Learning Institute, right? How is that going to be developed? That was not mentioned in your opening, and I think that's something that we need to address across the board. My primary concern in regards to the funding that's been raised or funding that's been allocated to Rochester is transparency, right? We need to have the means by which we know how the money is going to be used, right? And the various programs, we need to know that they are being applied according to the needs of the community at large. That is my comment for today, and we will be addressing these matters going forward in regards to the issues of transparency. They're extremely important. And also the question that you have raised, some things that you have raised that you're going to do, we like to ensure that those programs are put together in a way that we are certain that they have the greatest impact, the best
Mr.
impact
Mutakeen,
for our community. You got
thank
it.
you very much for your input.
Thank you.
We'll take that into consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mutakeen. The next speaker that we have on the list in the waiting room is Julia Possler.
Hi, everyone. How are you? Thank you for having me today. I didn't realize that this forum was going to be without everyone else on it, so I don't know how many people are on, but I will just say I'm the executive director for the Horizons at Warner program at the University of Rochester. And I am one of the summer providers for out of school time in the summer for the RCSD. So in regards to advocating for parents and families, as well as evidence-based programs for students to take an opportunity in, I know that I am one of many providers in the city of Rochester who are providing summer program this summer, but have also provided it for over the last decade. So I'm a national affiliate of Horizons National. Sorry about the sun glare, by the way. But it is, we're also part of a local coalition here of summer providers. My partner, Horizons at Harley, in particular, has been around for 25 years. Our program is the first of the 65 Horizons programs nationwide to be at an institute of higher education. So my point is, in this, as far as advocating, families need to be provided with choice for summer. I think now more importantly than ever, out of school time funding, funding for summer, it's important that we look at opportunities for our students year round and not just summer school, but true opportunities, equitable access to equitable education programs that enrich the lives of students and provide them with opportunities that they may not otherwise have opportunity to take part in. For example, swim lessons, karate, musical instrument lessons, chemistry. So my point in my advocacy tonight is just to say that I think that to represent the out of school time and to say that Rochester is rich in resources. I think it was 2 weeks ago, the superintendent did a video on YouTube talking about wanting community-based organizations to come together and be able to support each other and build these relationships. Horizons in particular, along with many of our other partners here in town, Encompass Learning, we work all year long to ensure that our students come back. When we register our kindergartners, we show them a graph in which their child comes back every year for 9 years. And that is the Horizons mission. And that is the mission of many of the out of school time providers. They want attendance and they want families to become involved. We have parent participation. We have curriculums that include social emotional learning. We have community embedded opportunities, and we have job force opportunities. So my advocacy is for funding for out of school time as well as summer programming.
Thank you, Ms. Possler. We appreciate you coming out tonight to provide that feedback to us.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Okay, the next speaker on the list in the waiting room is Mr. Christopher Widmeyer.
Hello, my name is Chris Widmeyer, and I'm a former Rochester City School District teacher, a graduate of Wilson Magnet, and a current resident of Highland Park neighborhood. The first thing I want to say is that I really hope that the school district and everybody within the organization, not just the school board, considers these funds as an opportunity to catalyze a different way of thinking about education in Rochester. For too long, we've just looked at how do we do more of the same that isn't really working well to begin with. And we need to change our mindset about how we can create an excellent education for every child within the city school district. And to do that, I believe that we need to use the money for a few different things. Within the framework of the culturally responsive sustaining education, we need anti-racism and anti-bias training for teachers and school leaders. We need to hire more support staff like social workers, psychologists, paraprofessionals, teaching assistants, nurses that are going to address the students and the faculty's needs for restoration and the trauma that they've experienced over the last year and a half. We need to make sure that we recruit and retain racially, ethnically, culturally, and linguistically diverse staff, implement culturally responsive and sustaining education programs. We need to invest in the restorative justice practices and partner with organizations that are going to make that happen within the district. We also need to expand Teaching and Learning Institute within this district so that we can grow our teachers at home. And we need to make sure that children have well-prepared, nutritious lunch and meals. I also believe that we need to think more about environmental education and how we can get students more engaged in the community as a whole. And like I said, I think that we can use these funds for catalyzing a new way of thinking about what education looks like through the RCSD so that it's something people want to be a part of rather than feel they have to be a part of. And I just want to finish with my hopes that those of you that are leading this tonight, Ms. Bacor and Ms. Morris, that you will do something to summarize what you've heard tonight from everybody and after June 10th and send it out so that everybody knows they're being listened to. That's something that's very important to all of us. I believe that we're being listened to and our thoughts are being taken into consideration more than just being given the opportunity to speak. So thank you very much for the time. And I appreciate you giving us this opportunity this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Widmeyer. We appreciate you coming out tonight to share your thoughts. The next speaker on our list is Ms. Koji Schroeder. I believe Ms. Schroeder is having connection issues right now, so we will come back to her when those are worked out. Going down the line, the next speaker on the list that's in the waiting room is Ms. Tina Kearney. Ms. Kearney, if you could join us. Good evening, Ms. Kearney. I believe you're muted.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Tina Kearney. I'm a parent leader, and I am an advocate for struggling learners, including those who are dyslexic, and meaningful parent engagement. I think that this is a once in a generation infusion of funds, and I hope that we collaborate together like we are tonight to allow the community and the parents to come forward and be equal decision makers in these really important decisions for our children. I care very deeply about literacy, and my son is dyslexic, and the school didn't pick up on it, and I did actually, and I didn't know 2 years ago what that was. So I advocate for professional development for dyslexia and the science of reading. My kids are going to be great. They're going to be fine. I am deeply concerned for the parents, the students, and the teachers who don't know what they don't know. So please, please invest in professional development and keep the conversation with the parents and community going. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you for your time tonight, Ms. Kearney. Okay, I think we'll return to Ms. Koji Schroeder. Okay, I think the connection issues are still ensue with Ms. Schroeder. So we will go to the next speaker on our list, which is Rafael Allen. Mr. Outland, if you would like to join, we'd love to hear your feedback.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for having me. I'm Dr. Rafael Allen, Assistant Professor at SUNY Brockport, the Counselor Education Department, as well as a youth advocate and activist in the city of Rochester. This piece I'll read is called Do What's Right with the ARP funds. For all the adults who love, care, and respect our urban youth, we can no longer play games with their future and education. If we truly care like we say we care, then we must do the right thing with the American Rescue Plan funds and not repeat the continued cycle of funding schools of oppression that hold down urban youth rather than uplift them. In every suburban school surrounding the city of Rochester, we can see exactly what it means to fund resources and support that uplift suburban youth. From nicely polished school buildings, abundant extracurricular activities and technology, to an amalgam of mental, emotional, and social services can all be found nested in suburban schools. Remnants of the school to jail pipeline and constant surveillance of youth activities are rare sightings, if not obsolete, in suburban schools. We must ask ourselves, what makes our urban youth less deserving of such a school environment? Why is this the case, and who made such a decision? If we are honest, we know that our urban youth deserve all the same support and resources extended to suburban youth and more and more. The demands for transforming Rochester urban schools are clear. We demand healthy food. We demand culturally relevant school curriculum. We demand culturally competent school personnel. Yes, this must include more adults who look like the majority students. We demand the complete eradication of the school to jail pipeline. We demand the increase in mental, emotional, social, and academic support services. We demand community control of how ARP and other state funds should be used to support urban youth. We demand the immediate firing of all adults in school and on the Board of Education who are unable to meet the demands of urban youth. I conclude, if ARP funds are not used to create a better present and future experiences for urban youth in school, then it is my hope that all stakeholders responsible for the continued oppression of our Black, brown, and poor youth will no longer be allowed to serve and work in our community. In turn, adults who love urban youth must rise up as a united collective, standing tall and proud, and yell from the top of our voices, we refuse to be exploited, We refuse to be exploited. We refuse to be exploited. On the move, long live John Africa.
Thank you, Dr. Outland. We appreciate your time and your thoughts this evening. So any speakers who have not had their turn at speaking tonight, if you could make sure that you join the Zoom. This will serve as the last speaker for the evening, and that is Ms. Barb Van Kirkby. Ms. Kirkby, if you could join the Zoom, please.
Are you waiting for me?
Yes, good evening, Ms. Van Kirkby. You have 3 minutes, you may begin.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Barb Van Kirkhoff. I'm a City of Rochester resident and a parent of an RCSD graduate. I am a longtime member of the Community Task Force on School Climate and a member of Citizen Action. I just want to say tonight that this $284 million in federal stimulus money provides our district with an amazing opportunity to bring the vision of a restorative district much closer to reality. I urge the district to find creative ways to get meaningful public input in how the money is spent, which is a requirement for the $197 million in American Rescue Plan money. If you find you're not getting enough input, then do additional outreach to students and families before the July 1st deadline. And also on the website, please share the strategic plan goals or provide a link in your questions regarding the American Rescue Plan. It's hard for people to find those. So next, as a city resident and a committed supporter of the RCSD, this is my input. While the federal stimulus money needs to be spent over the next 3 years, it does give us an opportunity to make one-time or short-term investments to further reduce suspensions, close suspension disparities, and improve school climate, all of which are directly related to keeping students in school and focused on learning. So it meets those requirements. The stimulus money can be used to first train all school administrators, motivated teachers, all school security officers, and middle and high school students in restorative practices. To support them until they are fully trained, hire restorative practitioners to be in the schools over the next few years to provide coaching to staff and students as they practice what they are learning. Provide anti-racism and anti-bias training for all school staff. Implement the New York State Ed Department's culturally responsive sustaining education framework to ensure that students and educators feel welcomed and supported. As part of this, train teachers in the framework in culturally responsive curriculum and infusing culturally responsive practices in all they teach and do. And then use some of the money to purchase culturally responsive books and resources. And one of the ways that you can increase the number of racially, ethnically, culturally, and linguistically diverse teachers is over the next few years provide stipends to encourage BIPOC RCSD staff to start getting their teaching degrees. Next, develop and implement a plan to right-size our district over the next couple of school years so that savings or money from stable or increased student enrollment can be used for longer-term, deep investments to improve student engagement and learning. This plan to right size must be envisioned and developed from the beginning in partnership with the stakeholders in the district, most especially students and families. I suggest putting the dilemma of a too big of district on the table for all to see, and then work together as partners to craft creative solutions that work to address the structural deficit and allow us to invest in our students and families. And finally, last but not least, provide a variety of nutritious, delicious hot meals with more of them cooked at the schools, and listen to the students about what they like and prepare those foods. I think these ideas will bring us much closer to a truly restorative district where teachers love to teach and students love to learn. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughts and your time tonight, Ms. Van Kirkhoff. My apologies for mispronouncing your name at the beginning.
That's okay.
That concludes our speaker list for this evening. Dr. Morris, I will pass the baton over to you to close out the meeting tonight. Thank you to all who joined for your time and your thoughts and input.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for your assistance and co-presenting with me tonight. And thank you everyone who signed up to participate, who either logged in and was able to speak and let us know your feedback about the use of these funds. We had more than 30 people sign up for this evening's event. And if you were unable to participate in this evening's event, please know that we have lots of other opportunities to provide feedback for the use of the funds by the Rochester City School District. We are hosting another public forum on June 10th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And so if you would like to participate in that opportunity to speak at that public forum, please note that all you have to do is to go to Rochester City School District's ARP website, which is at www.rcsdk12.org/ARP. Additionally, we do continue to welcome written feedback from the public on the use of these funds. So please feel free to go to that very same website, which is www.rcsdk12.org/ARP, and you can please provide us written feedback to provide us your perspective on the use of these funds. Lastly, we have a team that has started to put together recommendations to the superintendent for the use of these funds. And your recommendations and feedback that have been shared tonight will be shared with that team to provide to the superintendent. So please know that we will also be posting as much information about community input as we can on our website as well, to ensure transparency and to let the community know about the involvement. So once again, thank you so much for participating tonight. We really are grateful and thankful that you were able to participate, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thank you.